Welcome back to Games Revealed. I'm James and also The Brink, and today I want to talk about just some Steam Deck news. We got a few things that we can go over. One from Steam themselves, and also another one about the OneXPlayer. Maybe competing with Steam Deck a little bit more. We'll see. So make sure to just watch the whole video and see what is new and what we can just glean from the news while we wait for our deck, right? So before we get into it, make sure to like, subscribe, bash that bell with your crowbar. Now, let's get into it. So, with that comes reading from the webs. So, there was a blog post from Steam on the steampower.com storefront, and it just talks about how they've hit their 2,000 mark. So, with verified and playable games. So now you can play up to about 2,100, what it is right now when I last gleamed into the Proton DB. And so we're getting really, really high numbers. I think. I know people want the whole Steam library to be playable, but it's just going to take time. I'm sorry. To make things compatible with Linux, it's just going to take time. Hopefully things ramp up more. 2,000 is great. From my understanding, they have over 90,000 to 100,000 games, so it's still a fraction of the the library, but we're getting there, and then they're doing popularity first, at least popularity to what you've reserved, who's reserved that is. And so if you've reserved the Steam Deck and you play certain games, that will indicate to Steam that, hey, maybe this is a game that we should make sure to put on the list next. So it's just, yeah, that's what it comes down to. Unfortunately, for certain games that people love that maybe are not as popular, you might not see those until maybe the end of the year. So if you're a Q3 after Q3, you might still see some of the games that you love being verified. So just keep that in mind. And they're doing a great job. I mean, this is so many more games than any other systems had within the first month or two, right? I mean, my PS5 still doesn't have a lot of games on it, in my opinion. It could definitely get a lot better because there's only a few games that I've played on it that I've actually kind of enjoyed that isn't also on the PC. So, yes, 2,000 plus strong. It's awesome. I can't wait until they hit over 9,000 so we can have the memes. So, a couple of things that they noted here, and it's already stuff that we kind of already knew, but like they're working on anti-cheat. Namely, the Battle Eye and the easy anti-cheat right here is what is working so far if the developers enable it. So it does have to be developer supported and allowed, or else it doesn't work. So this is kind of the crappy part where not every game on the list that I mentioned on Steam can be playable on the Steam Deck unless especially if it has anti-cheat and those companies, the developers, don't enable it. So that's kind of a shitty thing, to be honest. I'm hoping that they get pressured. I'm hoping that more Steam Decks get sold and these companies feel pressured to enable it. Because to be honest, I think it's kind of just doesn't look good if you're not going to support the Steam Deck at this point. I don't care. Linux is safe. It's secure. They can do their due diligence to make sure that that they feel confident that there's no cheating going on, but there's cheating going on the Windows and probably more so. So I struggle when it comes to developers not supporting things. I get it. You got to put resources and time into it. From my understanding, Valve's made it very easy for them to streamline and to actually, enable their games on these anti-cheat pieces. So with that, the notable pieces, Elden Ring and Apex Legends, are playable. They're great examples of games with anti-cheat that work fine. So with that, let's get on to the next little piece. It goes over like libraries connecting to games beyond Steam. Like they've worked with Microsoft closely to bring Xbox cloud gaming to the Steam Deck users with the Microsoft Edge browser, which I think is really great. And of course, Microsoft's going to do that. Like that's just more exposure and makes them look better because they want the Xbox cloud gaming to be like the de facto, right? It's a subscription service and those make money over time. Like those are they're just golden nuggets for companies that it looks so good to have reoccurring revenue on the spreadsheets that Microsoft's being more altruistic these days, but because of altruism, it's making them look so much better and it is paying off. Really, some of these other game companies and companies period need to learn that, like, hey, when you don't treat your customers like shit, and you know that you're going to expect, like, let's say with Blizzard, you're going to release the next, let's say, just StarCraft, that people are going to buy it. Yeah, of course I'm going to buy it, but you know, the more you treat me like shit and the less you do to like really show that you care and really put good work into these games, because we've had like the Reforged, Warcraft 3 Reforged was garbage. It was like a spit in the face to fans, and it was a big turnoff. They're gonna start seeing decline in numbers, and it's gonna, I don't know. Hopefully, companies like Microsoft show that, hey, this is the way to do it. Just appeal to your customer base and the users and the players, and they'll come and pay money. Like, people want to spend money on these things. I do personally, and so we'll see. We'll see if they take, you know, that example from Microsoft. So, you know, the keyboard is now split, that you can use both the trackpads to use the keyboard. The power, they've offered a couple more options for power, which is actually pretty cool. They still claim 2 to 8 hours. I don't know if, I think I've seen 1 or 2 games maybe get up into the 8 hour period area, and we did a video on that like last week. But yeah, most of the games are 2 or 3, maybe 4. Some older games like BioShock can get up to 5, which is, I'm not gonna lie, pretty impressive actually. And I know that I got some people saying, "Oh wow, an old game can play at 5 hours." Yeah, BioShock still looks great. To be honest, it still looks good, and 5 hours of it, awesome. That's one of the things I'm gonna be playing this game on the Steam Deck, is a lot of older games like BioShock. So let's get into just a little bit further into this power thing, where they now allowed for frame rates to be adjusted down to 15 frames per second, meaning it can't go above that, and it's locked, allowing for it's gonna allow better power consumption. So if you have, let's say, visual novels, puzzles, and some simulation games, that you don't need much higher than that, or you might be fine compromising to 15 frames, and that will improve the longevity of the battery and maybe consume those novels longer. Also, they've offered, I think, a couple more options than the TDP, which we've seen people be able to pump out 4 or 5 hours potentially, out of which are 3, which is really cool. GPU clock control, the FSR, which was released, I believe, or at least, I believe it was released in the past few weeks, which allows for screen scaling, and it's a really cool feature that I think is going to bring longevity to the Steam Deck and to a lot of the consoles, where it can render at a lower resolution, but then upscale right to, like, let's say 4K. Obviously, Steam Deck doesn't need that, but when you plug it into your TV, that might come in a very useful manner. So we'll see how that works. So Windows, this is another one that I just want to shout out, that Windows is still being supported by Valve. People are really nihilistic about this. They just really don't think Valve's gonna support Windows long term, and I can't say about long term, but I do think they're gonna do what's right and get drivers that are good enough. And then if they really want to do what's right, then they'll maybe open it up to open source options or something like that to allow the drivers to continue to be supported on Windows, because until Destiny 2 and some of these other games that people want to play, they're going to need to play it on Windows. And I think with the last beta, like with the Windows driver, like with the drivers and with the SteamOS and the Steam Deck BIOS, and just with the beta support that they've come out with newer patches, it does show that they're still supporting Windows. Like Windows 11 is getting the FTPM support, which is just another clue that, hey, they're not giving up on Windows yet. There's still big pieces that need to be filled in, and that's audio. And so it sounds like they're going to have, good news to share on that. And then they also went over, like, hey, this is a PC. The people are writing code for it, they're doing 3D modeling on it, and they're writing software specifically for the Steam Deck. So I think in the next few months, as we get more and more people with hands-on Steam Decks, we're going to see some cool software pieces that are going to support. And that's the beautiful thing about the community. That's why I like modding and the PC gaming world, is that the community will build better ecosystems. And that's one thing that consoles just don't have. Like, if you want to play the game purely and without anything extra and just want to focus on what the developers have, then yes, console experience is great. But with PC gaming, you just get so much more out of that game if you want to. Or with the Steam Deck, you get a console-like experience, in my opinion. So that is it for this. Let's go into the OneXPlayer Mini takes on the Steam Deck with a new AMD model. And what's interesting about this, and let's just talk about like what that model is. That is, I mean, it seems like everything's about 1920 by 1200 resolution, you know, like higher resolution than what the Steam Deck is, 16 gigabytes of RAM. And when I say everything, it's just these other options, these higher end options, they tend to have a little bit higher end specs. Doesn't mean that it's worth that resolution because the games can't play at that high in a reasonable manner, or the trade-off isn't worth it, right? The CPU that they're putting into there is a 5800U Ryzen 7, and it's a Vega 8 graphics card, so it's going to be pretty beefy for mobile. And what this brings to me, in my mind, that the OneXPlayer wants to compete with the Steam Deck slightly, meaning they're adding AMD model, and then they're also, I believe, claimed that they're going to be trying out SteamOS on the OneXPlayer, or at least trying to release a OneXPlayer SteamOS version. And I think Valve's fine with that. I'm pretty sure I heard them mention last year that they want other people to come into the sphere and compete. And you know what that does for them? If people put SteamOS on these devices, it makes it so that they can buy stuff from the stores or the Steam store, and then they make money. So of course they're going to open source it. Of course this is good for them. And so really what it comes down to it, like OneXPlayer going this route and doing a SteamOS version, yeah, it's going to cost more, but some people are buying eBay like Steam Decks for over $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 even. I've seen potentially some go for. And so this is going to be hopefully a solution for some. And to be honest, I mean, look at this thing. It looks pretty sick. It doesn't look bad, and it has a couple of extra features that the Steam Deck just doesn't have, like desktop switching with a button. But then again, would it work with SteamOS? Not sure. They could probably make something work. And really, it's cool to see competition. Competition's what's going to drive, I think, this handheld PC gaming market, and I think it's going to bring a lot of cool features to the market and to our hands. Like we're gonna see some. Might be the renaissance, the essential handheld PC gaming era for the next decade. We're going to see some cool, hopefully, innovations and some cool power coming from AMD, and maybe Intel and NVIDIA is going to get throw their balls into the court and show what size of balls they have, and hopefully they're just swinging around and giving us good stuff. I want the competition. That is the best thing about capitalistic things like this, is that if people want to buy things, other companies will try to reinvent. If we have just one thing, then it can get stagnant. Valve doesn't work like that per se. I don't think Valve really works on a capitalistic thing or like ideals as much as they're just, and I could be wrong, and I'm sure people are going to mention it in the comments, but obviously there's money shows success. They go for success and what's exciting, what's new. And so the money obviously verifies that, but yeah, that's it. I'm rambling on. That's it for the news. That's all I wanted to share. It's looking very promising for the Steam Deck. We're having a lot of new features, a lot of new, just things coming out that are showing that, hey, Valve is continuing to support this, and we're going to continue to get support, I think, the rest of this year and into the years to come. So thank you guys for watching. Let me know in the comments below what you think is the coolest new feature of the Steam Deck that we are getting, or what feature do you want the most? So thank you guys for watching. Check out my other videos, and I'll catch you guys later. Peace out. Later.